The velvet beginning. You are not born like other children. Your first breath does not echo in a plain chamber or a modest home. It ripples through marble corridors. The doctor who delivers you bows. The room smells of rose water and powdered wigs. Outside, a waiting crowd cheers, not because they know you, but because you are something. A promise. A prince. Your name is Louis Charles, Duke of Normandy, the second son of King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. Your crib is carved with golden cherubs, your clothes are sewn with silver thread, you're taught to nod before you walk, to smile before you speak. Etiquette is your lullaby, servants outnumber your toys. And your mother, she is not just a queen, she is your whole sky. She calls you Chou d'amour, her little cabbage of love. In her arms the court fades, in her arms the world is small and sweet. But even then your innocence was shadowed. Just beyond the palace gates the people grumble. Bread costs more than a week's work. Children beg in the streets. Men speak of liberty, of guillotines, but these words do not reach you. Not yet. You are 4 years old when the crowd storms Versailles. They don't care that you're learning to read. They don't care that your shoes pinch. They want your father's head. They say your mother is Madame Deficit, and worse, they drag your family from the palace, not with ropes or chains, but with chants and blood on their shoes. You ride in a carriage, silent beside your brother. You do not understand why the Queen is trembling. You arrive in Paris not as rulers, but prisoners with titles. They place you in the Tuileries Palace, a gilded cage. You still have tutors, you still have meals, but the air tastes different, heavy, like someone else's breath lingers too long. One night you hear the shouting, glass breaks, someone's bleeding, servants run, your mother hides you behind a curtain and whispers, "Don't speak." This is the new rule. Be quiet. Even your toys become political. If you're seen holding a soldier, it must be the right kind of soldier. If you smile, it better be small. The wrong look could start a riot. Your father no longer teaches you history. He teaches you how to keep your hands still, how to bow even when mocked. You don't know it yet, but childhood is over, and the throne you're meant to inherit is turning to ash. A prince without a future. By the time you're 6, France is bleeding. Men in red caps march through the streets. The flag changes. The calendar changes. They even change the name of God, because reason is the new religion. But you are still just a boy. You love to draw ships. You like honey in your bread. You sleep beside your mother and listen to her breathing, soft and strained. She's not the woman they whisper about in the taverns. She's your maman. And in the dark, when she holds your hand and hums an old Austrian lullaby, she becomes the only home you have left. But home is a fragile thing in revolution. In 1792 you are told to prepare. Bags are packed, soldiers arrive. You don't know where you're going, only that you have to leave. The Tuileries is no longer safe. You're taken to the temple, once a monastery, now a prison. Tall walls, narrow windows, locked doors, the scent of incense replaced with mildew. It is here your world begins to shrink. No more gardens, no more tutors, no more ceremony. The king is now called Citizen Capet. Your mother weeps when she thinks you're not looking. Your sister whispers prayers. You ask your father if you will be king. He says nothing, because even he knows the truth. In this new France there are no more kings, only prisoners. The king without a kingdom. It is the summer of 1789. You are 4 years old. You're sitting in a gilded chair too large for your legs. Your father is pacing. Again. The king. But his crown feels heavier than ever. Whispers echo through Versailles. The Bastille has fallen. The people have armed themselves. Paris is lost.
You don't understand these words, but you understand the faces. The adults are afraid. Your father, Louis XVI, tries to appear calm. He still holds court, still signs decrees, still lectures his ministers. But you see his hands shake when he thinks no one is watching, and your mother, Marie Antoinette, she no longer spends hours at her dressing table. Her laughter is gone. Her gowns are simpler. She writes long letters in a locked room, her quill scratching with quiet fury. Then the mob comes. Not rumor, real men. Real blades. On October 5, 1789, thousands of women, cold, starving, furious, march to Versailles. They don't come for diplomacy. They come for bread. For revenge. You're awakened in the night by screams. Gunshots. Someone is yelling, "The Queen must die." Your mother rushes into your room and clutches you against her chest. For the first time in your life, you feel her heartbeat, wild and fast and unhidden. You are no longer a prince. You are a target, the people's prisoners. The family is forced to leave Versailles. No royal procession. No triumph. You travel to Paris, to the Tuileries Palace, a relic of older kings, now surrounded by armed guards and stone-faced revolutionaries. You ride silently in the carriage. Crowds scream outside. Some throw stones. Others spit. A few cry, "Death to the Austrian." They mean your mother. Inside the palace, rooms are stripped of gold. Mirrors are covered. No music plays. Your nursemaids are replaced by guards. Your father tries to smile. He builds wooden models with you, tells you stories from the Bible. But his eyes are distant. Always calculating. Always listening. You hear things a child shouldn't, whispers of execution lists. Arguments about whether to flee or submit. And always, the phrase, "The Republic will not tolerate kings." Your mother keeps writing. Letters to Austria. To Prussia. Pleas for help. Tea, wrapped in diplomatic phrases. Every visitor is a possible savior. Every dinner, a performance, and you learn how to stay still. To speak only when spoken to. You are 6, but your eyes have aged. You watch your father pray for hours. You watch your mother clutch a miniature portrait of you and your sister, whispering, "This is all I have left." The walls are not yet cold stone. But they are already closing in. The Flight and the Fall, June 1791. Midnight, you are shaken awake. No candles. No guards. Just hurried voices and quiet footsteps. Your mother dresses you in plain clothes, not royal silks, but servant garb. Your family is escaping in a covered coach. Your parents, your siblings, and a handful of loyalists flee the Tuileries. The plan is daring, to reach the Austrian border and reclaim the throne with foreign help. You fall asleep in your mother's lap, unaware that the future of France rides with you. But at Varennes, it all falls apart. Someone recognizes your father, not the kingly crown, but his face on the money. Word spreads. The coach is stopped. The royal family is arrested by villagers with torches. You are taken back to Paris under armed escort. Crowds gather on rooftops. No more cheers. No more silence. Only a nation screaming, "Traitors!" Back in the Tuileries, the walls are tighter. The guards, harsher. And something breaks inside your father. He no longer builds models. He no longer walks the halls. You watch him read for hours, a worn Bible in his lap and a noose of fate tightening around his neck. On August 10, 1792, the monarchy is formally abolished. You are no longer a prince, just Louis Charles Capet. A number. A symbol. A problem to be solved. You are 7 years old. Arrival at the temple. It looks like a fortress from a fairy tale. Gray stone walls, iron doors, towering spires. But the temple, once a sacred place of the knights Templar, is no sanctuary. Not anymore.
You arrive in the dead of night, under heavy guard. The crowd doesn't cheer, they spit, they scream. You hide your face in your mother's dress, and even though you're 8 now, you don't feel old enough for this. Inside, the air is damp and heavy with mold. The rooms are small, the floors cold, the windows barred. There are no tapestries, no music, no books for you, only silence and locked doors. Your mother tries to make the room feel like home. She arranges the chairs, mends your clothes, braids your sister's hair. But even she, once the most powerful woman in France, cannot open a single door without permission. You sleep on a thin mattress beside your sister. The blankets scratch, the candles sputter. Outside your cell, footsteps, always footsteps. They never stop watching you. The walls close in. The days blur together. There is no school now, no garden walks, no tutors. Instead, the guards pace back and forth. They glare at you like you're a symbol, not a child. When you speak too loudly, they shout. When you cry, they ignore you. Once you ask your mother why the bells no longer ring, she only says, because the city has lost its soul. Your father is kept upstairs, away from you. You see him only at mealtimes, quiet, sunken, always praying. On January 21st, 1793, you wake up to silence, then a whisper, then sobbing. Your father is gone. They tell you nothing, but your mother tells you everything. In her arms, she explains that your father was taken to Place de la Révolution, that he climbed wooden steps to a platform, that the people cheered, that he was beheaded by guillotine at 10:22 in the morning. You are 8 years old. You do not speak for 2 days. You do not eat. You only stare at the wooden floor and imagine the sound of the blade. From that day forward, the guards stop calling you Little Louis. Now, you are the son of a dead king. And, in the eyes of the revolution, that is dangerous. Separation. The knock comes in the middle of the night. Again, you sit up, your sister clutches your arm, your mother stands between you and the door like a soldier. This time they don't come for your father, they come for you. A man in a red sash declares that the child Capet must be re-educated, that you will be raised not by your mother but by patriots. You belong to the people now, he says. You scream, you claw at the doorway. Your mother begs, pleads, collapses on the floor. She's not a queen now. She's just a mother being torn from her son. The guards do not flinch. They drag you down a hallway and up a tower staircase. The door slams behind you. The key turns. The sound is final. Your new guardian is Antoine Simon, a former cobbler turned revolutionary jailer. He doesn't treat you like a prince or even a child. He treats you like a threat. The bed is hard. The walls drip with dampness. There are no toys, no books, no mother, no light. You are now a prisoner in the highest room of the temple tower, alone, forgotten, and utterly silent. Each day you sink deeper into the stone. Each night you dream of Versailles, the smell of your mother's perfume, your sister's voice, your father's arms around you as he carved tiny ships from wood. But in this place memory is dangerous, love is poison, and you are just Louis-Charles Capet now, the last heir of a dying dynasty. Training a child to forget. Your new home is a single stone room. 4 walls, a cot, a bucket, and the smell of rot. You are 8 years old. You hear the voices outside your door, men debating what to do with you. Some say you should be executed like your father. Others say you should be re-educated. The man in charge of you now, Antoine Simon, was once a cobbler. Now he's the hammer of the revolution, and you are the nail. Each deeds. He drills you with slogans. There are no more kings. Your parents were tyrants. France is your only family now. He forces you to sing revolutionary songs. He teaches you filthy words. When you refuse, he slaps you. When you cry, he laughs. At night, he gives you alcohol to sleep. In the morning, he punishes you for being weak. They call this education. You call it erasure. Slowly, your voice, once soft and curious, goes quiet. You forget how to pray. You forget how to dream. You forget what day it is. And worst of all, you start to believe them. The trial of Marie Antoinette. Below your cell, a storm is brewing. Your mother, Marie Antoinette, has been put on trial, not as a queen, but as an enemy of the Republic. The courtroom is filled with rage, with mockery, with the thirst for blood. They call her Madame Deficit, Austrian whore, witch. But the worst accusation is yet to come. They accuse her of abusing you. A man rises in court and claims that you, Louis Charles, confessed that your mother made you commit unspeakable acts. Gasps fill the chamber. Your mother stands frozen, pale as bone, but she says nothing. She does not scream or cry. She simply looks at the jury and says, "If I have not replied, it is because nature itself refuses to answer such a charge against a mother." You never made this accusation. You were coerced, confused, poisoned in mind and body. But in the eyes of the revolution, your silence is evidence. Your wounds are useful. On October 16, 1793, at dawn, Marie Antoinette is led to the guillotine. Her hair is cut, her hands tied. She glances once, briefly, in the direction of the temple tower, toward you. Then she climbs the scaffold, and disappears from the world forever. An orphan in chains. Now you are truly alone. Your father beheaded. Your mother executed. Your aunt and sister vanished to separate cells. And you are a child buried alive, locked in a room that no one visits, no one speaks of, no one dares to remember. There are no more guards pretending you're a prince, no more jailers pretending to teach you. The door stays shut for months. You stop speaking, you stop standing, you stop eating. The walls blur, the air rots, your nails grow long, lice crawl across your scalp, sores form on your skin. You cry out in fever, but no one comes. You scratch your name into the wood, then forget how to spell it. The only light comes from a small grated window far above you, but even the sun feels ashamed to look in. One day you hear someone outside. You crawl to the door. It opens. But it's not your mother, not your sister, not a rescuer. It's a man with a lantern and a ledger. He's here to record that the Dauphin still lives. Barely. He gasps at your condition but says nothing. He doesn't touch you, doesn't speak, just writes, then closes the door. That was the last time someone said your name out loud. You are not Louis Charles anymore. You are the problem that must be forgotten. The locked room, your cell is 12 feet long, 10 feet wide. Stone walls, iron bars, a small window above your head, too high to see through. You've lost track of the days. You don't know if it's morning or night. Your body no longer feels like yours. Your legs are too weak to stand. Your skin itches from lice. Your teeth ache. You cough constantly. You bleed from your nose. The wounds on your arms fester. You are 9 years old, but your reflection, if there were a mirror, would look decades older. Once, a mouse scurries across your cell and you speak to it, just to remember what your voice sounds like. But the silence is heavier than any stone. You hear footsteps sometimes, outside the door, but they pass. No visitors, no sunlight, no books, no toys, no family. You lie on your mattress, soaked in urine, mouldy with rot, and wonder what there feels like. Because this feels worse. The child who was a threat. Outside, the world moves on. France is at war. The guillotine claims dozens each day. Napoleon rises. Robespierre falls. New governments rise and crumble like sandcastles. But in the temple tower you are frozen. You are not a child to them. You are a threat, a symbol, the last echo of a monarchy they swore to destroy. Some say you must be kept alive to prove that the Republic is just. Others say you should be forgotten, so no royalist can rally in your name. No one says you should be saved. The guards rotate. Sometimes they bring food. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they curse at you. Once, one kicks you in the ribs and laughs. You haven't seen your mother in almost a year. You still call out to her in your dreams. But your voice is hoarse, and the stone doesn't answer. You forget what her face looks like. You forget your own name. You are the boy in the dark, and no one is coming. A Whisper of Mercy, summer 1794. A new jailer unlocks the door. His name is Laurent. He expected to find a prince, perhaps proud, spoiled, difficult. Instead, he finds a dying boy curled in a corner, too weak to lift his head. He is horrified. For the first time in nearly a year, someone speaks kindly to you. He washes your wounds. He changes your bedclothes. He tries to teach you to walk again. But it's too late. Your body is breaking down. Your joints are swollen. Your belly distended. You scratch yourself bloody in your sleep. Sometimes you wake up screaming. Sometimes you don't wake at all. Laurent pleads with the authorities. He needs a doctor, a real one, now. They give him silence, paperwork, delay. Because deep down they know, if you die, the problem dies with you. So they let you fade. On June 8, 1795, at the age of 10, you die, alone, in the dark, covered in your own blood and waste. Your death certificate says tuberculosis. But the truth, the real truth, is this. You were starved, neglected, and abandoned. Not by fate, not by illness, but by the people who should have protected you, by the world that needed you to disappear. You were born a prince, You died a prisoner, and for nearly 2 centuries the world would question whether you ever died at all. The autopsy that solved nothing. The day after your death, June 9th, 1795, officials perform an autopsy. The boy's body is bloated, covered in sores, barely recognizable. Doctors open the chest. They extract the heart, a strange royal custom even in death. One physician, Dr. Pelletan, later claims he stole the heart, wrapped it in a handkerchief and smuggled it home. But more curious than what was taken is what was missing. There's no detailed identification, no family allowed to confirm the corpse, no official drawings, no royal markings, nothing. Just a thin, sickly boy who's quickly buried in a mass grave at Sainte Marguerite Cemetery. No stone, no cross, no name. The monarchy is gone, the boy is gone, and the Republic finally moves forward. But the silence doesn't last, because rumours begin to spread. A prison guard, anonymously, claims the boy who died wasn't Louis Charles at all. That a switch was made. The escape theory. It starts as a whisper. A guard claims that in late 1794 a woman visited the temple with a sleeping child. He says the jailers swapped her boy for the real Dauphin, smuggled him out, hidden in laundry carts or disguised in peasant clothes. Others say the boy was taken through underground tunnels. Some say he was escorted by foreign spies loyal to the royalist cause. Supporters point to the sealed conditions of the cell, the lack of transparency, the deliberate neglect. It's as if someone wanted the story to die, or to hide the truth. Even the autopsy draws suspicion. Several doctors later admit they were never shown documents confirming the child's identity. The revolution had every reason to hide the truth. Keeping Louis Charles alive was a danger, but so was martyring him. Better then to say he died, and make sure no one ever really knows. The legacy of a mystery. For decades, France is haunted by the question, did the Dauphin really die in the Temple Tower? Royalists insist he escaped, that he lived in hiding, that he would one day return and reclaim the throne. Some say he was taken to Germany, raised under a false name. Others believe he was sent to America, living as a farmer in Pennsylvania. There are even claims he became a monk, his identity buried beneath a vow of silence. No one can prove anything, but no one can disprove it either. And so, the legend grows. The child becomes a ghost, a symbol of lost innocence, a seed of rebellion, a rallying cry for royalist uprisings and Bourbon restoration plots. Years later, when Napoleon rules and kings come and go, the name Louis Charles still lingers in French taverns, whispered by candlelight. Because even in death, especially in death, he became more powerful than anyone imagined. A boy who died in darkness, or a boy who lived in shadows. No one could say. Not yet. The men who claimed to be Louis XVII. After the official death of Louis Charles, France enters a strange, eerie silence. But soon, whispers turn into voices, and voices become men. At first, it's just a few drunks in taverns claiming royal blood. Then it spreads. By the mid-1800s, over 30 men across Europe would claim to be Louis XVI, the lost Dauphin who survived the temple. Some are dismissed outright, beggars with wild eyes clinging to rumours for a coin, but others are harder to ignore. Like Karl Wilhelm Naundorf, a German clockmaker who arrives in Paris in 1833, claiming he is the real Louis Charles. He knows things no one should, palace layouts, secret phrases used by the royal family, intimate details of court life, childhood trauma, even his sister's jewellery box. At first people laugh, then they hesitate, because Marie-Thérèse, the Dauphin's surviving sister, refuses to meet him, and her silence says more than words ever could. The courts, the scandals and the skeletons, Naundorf sues the French government for recognition, and for a moment the world watches. He is elegant, soft-spoken, convincing. Even some former nobles, those who served the monarchy before the fall, believe him. But the government brands him a fraud. They jail him, deport him. He dies in the Netherlands in 1845, still claiming to be Louis XVII. On his gravestone, he demands one final insult: Louis Charles, Duke of Normandy, King of France. His family carries the claim for generations, but he wasn't alone. Other impostors emerge, like Baron Richemont, who is imprisoned for pretending to be the Dauphin. Or Reverend Eliezer Williams, a Native American missionary in the US who convinces whole towns in New York that he is the lost French prince. Each has a story, each has details, and each brings back the unbearable possibility that the boy never died at all, DNA and the final verdict. For centuries, the mystery lives on. It survives Napoleon, it survives world wars, it survives history books and bedtime tales. But then, in 2000, over 200 years after Louis Charles' supposed death, science steps in. Historians locate a preserved heart, the one allegedly stolen by Dr. Pelletan during the autopsy. DNA is extracted and compared with the DNA of Marie Antoinette's relatives using a lock of her hair. The result? A match. The heart belonged to Louis Charles. Case closed? Not exactly. Skeptics argue the heart may have been switched. Others say the DNA process was flawed, rushed, or politically motivated. But for most historians, the mystery ends here, and yet the story lingers. Because even if Louis Charles did die in that cell, the idea of his escape changed history. It gave birth to myths, rebbe, aliens, novels, and nightmares. And in that sense, he never truly died at all. A crown never touched Louis Charles died alone, but in the minds of many, especially royalists, he never truly fell. To them, he was not just the lost boy, he was the uncrowned king. After the death of Louis XVI, monarchists declared Louis Charles Louis XVII by blood. No ceremony, no coronation, just a hollow, tragic inheritance. Even as he suffered in the temple, loyalists secretly toasted to the king in the tower. They wrote letters to him that were never delivered. They prayed for a child they could not save. In this strange political limbo, the throne became a phantom, and the boy became its ghost. This symbolism only grew after his death. Artists painted him as a sainted child, glowing in light, surrounded by darkness. Poets immortalized him as the innocent victim of a godless revolution. His name, once whispered in fear, returned as a sacred lament among royalist circles. He was no longer a boy, he was a martyr, the weaponization of memory. But grief is never apolitical. And the memory of Louis Charles, like everything else in post-revolutionary France, became a weapon. To monarchists, he was a divine heir slain by monsters, a symbol of why the crown must be restored and why the republic was built on murder. To republicans, his story was a dark stain, either exaggerated, misremembered, or best forgotten. They spoke of the revolution's glories, but rarely of the little boy who cried in the dark. And for Bonapartists, who admired Napoleon's rise, Louis Charles was both inconvenient and irrelevant, a child of a dying system. Even historians struggled. Was he merely a victim, or a symbol of everything broken, a monarchy that failed its people, and a revolution that devoured its young? Everyone projected their politics onto the boy's broken body. In this way, Louis Charles stopped being a person. He became a mirror, a story, a myth you could mold. The child in the shadows. To this day, the temple no longer stands. It was torn down by Napoleon, perhaps out of guilt or fear that it might become a shrine. But if you walk the Marais district of Paris, you'll still find traces, street signs, plaques, quiet corners where the wind seems to hold its breath. Every few years, a new book is written, a new documentary released. Theories rise and fall like tides. Was the body switched? Did someone bribe the guards? Was there ever a secret tunnel? And in every version, the same face returns. Pale, fragile, looking out the window of a stone cell that no longer exists. The child who didn't live long enough to be king, but who lived forever in the haunted archives of France. Louis Charles died without a voice. And yet, somehow, he never stopped speaking. In lullabies, in paintings, in ghost stories passed from mother to child, because some kings wear crowns and others wear chains, and the ones who wear chains are never forgotten. The autopsy. Nobody believed. When Louis Charles died in June 1795, his autopsy was carried out by Dr. Philippe Jean Pelletan. The report said the child had died of tuberculosis, but the body told another story. riddled with scars, covered in ulcers and bones that looked like they belonged to a boy much younger than 10. Peloton, sickened by what he saw, did something unthinkable. He stole the heart. He removed the prince's heart and preserved it in alcohol, a grisly relic, a desperate act of remembrance. To him, this was not just tissue. It was the only proof that France had committed a monstrous sin. The rest of the body, buried in an unmarked grave. Quickly, quietly, almost guiltily. But rumors wouldn't die so easily. The rise of the pretenders. Within a decade, dozens of men came forward claiming to be the real Louis XVI. They said they had escaped, switched at the last moment, rescued by royalists, hidden in farms, ships, even monasteries, each with a slightly different tale, but all with one message: I am the rightful king of France. One of the most famous was Karl Wilhelm Naundorf, a German clockmaker who convinced some French monarchists that he was the lost prince. His handwriting was eerily similar. He knew obscure details about the royal household. Even some of Marie Antoinette's old courtiers believed him. He married, had children, and was buried with the title Louis XVII carved on his grave. For years, no one could prove him wrong, because there was no DNA testing, only stories and scars. The question refused to die. Did Louis Charles really die in the temple, or did France bury the wrong boy? The DNA that ended and ignited the story. In 2000, centuries after the prince's death, science finally intervened. The heart preserved by Dr. Peloton was subjected to mitochondrial DNA testing, comparing it with verified samples from Marie Antoinette's family. The result? A perfect match. The heart was Louis Charles's. The boy in the temple had truly died there. And yet, even in clarity, the mystery endured. Why had no one helped him? How did the state let him rot alive? Why did so many people need him to have survived? In 2004, the heart was buried with full honours in the royal crypt at the Basilica of Saint-Denis, alongside his mother and father, a ceremony filled with candles, velvet and whispered apologies centuries too late. But some still refuse to believe it. Some still call Naundorf their king, and some say the DNA was wrong, the test rigged, the heart not real. Because myth is stronger than science, and grief never asks for proof. Louis Charles was finally at rest. But France? France was not. A royal ghost in the French soul, Louis Charles was just a boy, uneducated, unloved, and imprisoned for a name he didn't choose. But in his silence he became the perfect vessel for action. To the royalists, he was the innocent lamb, the last hope of divine monarchy. To republicans, he was a necessary casualty, a shadow behind the new dawn. To writers, artists, and poets, he was the tragic prince, the boy whose blue blood was slowly poisoned by politics. Victor Hugo called him a sacred phantom, and France, whether it admitted it or not, kept him close, not in justice, but in guilt. Echoes in revolution and remembrance. Every revolution France endured after 1795 carried his ghost. During the Bourbon Restoration, Louis Charles became a rallying cry, a reminder of the blood spilled and thrones lost. In the 19th and 20th centuries, his story was invoked every time France questioned its own soul. In royalist uprisings, in debates over monarchy and republic, in films, books and paintings often showing him alone in the dark, clutching a rag doll or staring out a barred window, his face became iconic, pale, hollow-eyed and wide with unspoken questions. The question was never just what happened to him, but what his fate said about France itself. The boy who wasn't meant to speak. To this day, no recordings, no letters, and almost no words survive from Louis Charles himself. He died mute, spiritually and literally. His voice was broken in captivity, his mind likely fractured, his memories erased. And maybe that's why his myth persists, because silence is fertile ground for storytelling. In some versions, he forgave everyone. In others, he died cursing the revolution. Some say he went mad. Others say he never knew he was royal at all. And so, in museums, crypts, and classrooms, Louis Charles is always almost alive, still asking, why me? But history has no answer, only echoes.